Chapter 8. Lorne loosened his cravat, feeling as though it were choking the life out of him, or rather that the ball, and the dozens of carriages pulling up to his house, with guests lavishly outfitted alighting, was suffocating him. The street lamps outside shone brightly on them all, their jewels catching the light and twinkling. He was fairly certain this had been a bad idea. One, because he abhorred most society functions, and two, because the whole reason he'd decided to have this ball in the first place was because he'd lost a wager to Alec. The added benefit was that he'd get to show the world he had no interest in Jamie Andrewson, to put the gossip-mongers and their ridiculous rumours to rest. Of course, since she wouldn't be in attendance, their disinterest in one another would be easily surmised. But he had hoped they could ignore each other, make a show of it, though he wasn't certain why he'd agreed to the idea in the first place. It was clear the woman had no interest in saving her reputation, given she'd flat-out denied him. Perhaps she was more like her sister than he'd thought. Even as he thought it, he doubted it. There had always been differences between Jamie and Shanna, all the more so when Jamie was a young girl, not yet come out into society. There were, of course, the broader, more noticeable traits like intelligence, business acumen, and frivolousness, both the former of which Jamie held copious amounts, and the latter was gifted to her sister. There were also smaller, less noticeable qualities he'd taken note of as well. Years ago, when they'd had tea, Jamie had always made certain everyone was involved in the conversation, listening and recalling tidbits of personal anecdotes others told her in the past, while her sister was content to cut anyone off who'd she'd lost interest in. Jamie remembered he hated cucumbers, whereas Shanna always made certain there was an abundance of cucumber sandwiches on hand. He'd taken his betrothed's behaviour for nerves, and thought that since the pair were sisters, they were likely very similar, and it was taking Shanna a bit of time to warm up. What a foolish idea that had been, and he should have known better, for he and Gil were very different people.